Hello everyone, my name is Wendell Francis. I'm one of the co-authors of a book by the name of Extended Guide to God. This book is one of our first sophomore, or I should say freshman books where we want to have a one-on-one beginner's guide to how so people can understand the struggles, the vices and flaws within themselves. Something that will focus on the need for this aid, this advisory prompting to change and to become better people. And we are at Episode 6 right now. If those who haven't gotten a chance to see the other episodes, it would be great if you can get it, take a look at them, and we'll be cranking out these episodes as until, and we're almost at the end mark, of course, and hopefully we'll be able to one day have another volume of this book where we can give a little bit more sustenance to those who may not understand the spiritual aspect of things. So let me start with chapter 11, which touches on voodoo and witchcraft, and these I mean, it's not going to be in great depth, but at least it will give you just a surface, on who uses it and how. These are the points. Point 1: musical instruments can be used to lure or possess people. 2. Every religious institution and cult uses it to bring in more followers. Speaking in tongues and healing are faked by these religious institutions to bring in more followers. Some of these organizations use voodoo, witchcraft, to make people feel that they were helped, when actually it was these same organizations that made them feel sick or ill spiritually or physically. Voodoo in religious cults and institutions are also used to keep followers submissive. The most use of voodoo is built on jealousy, envy, vicariousness, hatred, and avariciousness. 4. Voodoo rituals are real. People still practice it even today, especially the practice of spirit worship and creation of voodoo dolls, charms, pouches, and seals, which always need to be renewed and updated. 5. Witchcraft, voodoo, santeria, wanga are just a few words to name an ancient human practice to bring about things unfamiliar to the workings of God. But God allows these unfamiliar workings as a chance for those practicing these things to turn away from them. There are infinite outcomes that can be brought about out of witchcraft. There are almost little to no limitations when it comes to manipulating the lives of others and ours. 6. The practice of witchcraft goes back to the beginning of human sin. Because this world has so many drawbacks, we as people want things to be in our favor, in our liking. Instead of people learning from the hard lessons of life, we want to run it and do this wrong so we can continue to do what we would want. 7. Some believe there is a separation of voodoo, as in good voodoo and bad voodoo. When it comes to God, all voodoo is against God, so all is corruption of oneself. The practice of voodoo proves to God that we are wrongfully and unknowingly claiming independence from our Creator, that we don't need this discipline. Those that are stubborn in their ways by practicing voodoo shall never be saved, and sooner than later will not receive any more mercy from God. 8. God's Holy Spirit will not be on this earth for much longer, and there will be much chaos in this world. Voodoo will be of no more use in voodoo practitioners' lives. This is a real and clear warning. Those that are addicted to it, when they can't go a day without practicing it, need to wean gradually from it. This is not a plea. This is a warning. There is a thin blue line, and it is shrinking gradually, and soon there will be no more blue line. The blue line is the blue line is the protection given by God through his mercy to those that still shamelessly and stubbornly rely on witchcraft in their lives. It's an unending cycle. 9. There is no duality when it comes to practicing witchcraft and being in God. God and witchcraft don't belong together. Both cannot exist harmoniously together. Those who practice this don't see this distinction. Only those truly with God can. You cannot serve two masters unless you favor one over the other. The merging of God and witchcraft shows the lacking of faith in God. To believe you need extra help besides what God can provide. Those people have no faith in God at all. Denial is strong, and so is the hold Satan has on those people. 10. Some rely on witchcraft because that is what they learn from young, or that is all they know in connection with who God is, and they just never learned anything else. These people have to break from that limitation and become well-versed in the language of God. No substitution. 11. God is stronger than witchcraft any given time, but to utilize God's strength, you have to start letting go of your doubt of him, even those that don't believe in it. With God, you are always protected with no renewing. And that's the end of chapter 11. Just to add that witchcraft, voodoo, Santeria, whatever you want to call it, people all think that is separate. They're completely void of any inheritance of a similar lineage, but everything is all the same in one, all family, in a sense. So we have to realize that if we think we're on one end of the spectrum practicing something and no one is quite like you, and you're unique, and your purpose for doing it is of the greater good, that you have to be careful. And for those who might be doing it for you, like seers, psychics, which we talked about in the other earlier episode, we have to understand that they're all the same, no matter what kind of what you worship, I would say tools that you use in your practice. They're all danger, and it's dangerous for your soul. Now, to go into the writer's background, where I'll read two. One will be Duke's dream vision, and one other Duke's dream. And let me start with Duke's dream vision. It starts, I saw myself in Jerusalem standing by a road. I was with my sister beside me. There were Jewish soldiers clearing up debris from a day-old atomic blast. But the soldiers didn't know it was an atomic blast. They thought it was a regular bomb. They were talking to each other and making light of the situation by saying jokes. I knew that the Israeli government didn't tell the soldiers it was a radioactive area. I was saddened by the decision of the government, carelessly sacrificing their own healthy soldiers for cheap. I knew that it was the near future, and Israel was in conflict with a major Western nation combined with other large allies. As I was in the scene with this kind of scenario, I saw below it a stamped date of 770 AD. At first I didn't understand what it meant and why it was there, but then it dawned on me that it is referencing the Bible. The part of the Bible this dream vision was referencing is Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 to 27. Verse 24, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Verse 25, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince shall be 7 weeks. And 62 weeks the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Verse 26, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. And that concludes one of Duke's dream visions, and I'll go now into the second, which is Duke's dream. I was in a movie theater walking to the elevator to get to a bathroom. As I approached the elevator, the door opened. Someone was already inside. I walked into the elevator and was waiting for the door to close. The man inside started to talk to me. Within seconds, I knew it was the devil. I didn't want to be in an elevator alone with the devil, so I started to walk out. He stood by the elevator door trying to talk to me and coax me back into the elevator. I knew it was a trick to try to trap me. He said, God doesn't care about you, just join me. I said, no, that's okay. He then said, God put you through all of this suffering. He enjoys it and don't care. All of this suffering and personal test will amount to nothing. I continued to walk away unwavering. And I'm sorry, when I read this, I think that I may have read this one already, to be honest. So let me now, but it seems like it is correct, but that it is a new one of Duke's dreams that I've read just now. But I may have read this before, so please, if it seems like, like you've heard this, please forgive me for being repetitious. But now I'm going to go into, let's see here, one of my experiences. But of course, again, when it comes to Duke's dreams and dream visions and experiences, you'll hear more of those throughout the rest of the other in the future episodes. Now, one of my experiences. I was walking around in Manhattan. I noticed a woman a couple of times in a jogging suit, an outfit. At the third, I was walking down the street and I heard a yelp from the same woman saying, "That's mine." I looked up and I saw her panting and speechless. She looked confused and shocked. There was a guy with a black hooded pullover she was speaking to that had her cell phone in his hand, telling her strongly, "Get out of here," as if he was gesturing with his left as he was gesturing with his left arm. As I was starting to walk over, this exchange continued until I actually confronted him. By this time, the woman was sadly jogging slowly away. The guy started to do the same to me as he did the woman. I told him, "Give it back to her." He then said, "It's none of your business. Stay out of it." Around this time, the woman had stopped her journey away from the incident to stop and see what was happening between me and the guy. The guy said, "You don't want to get involved." I kept repeating the same phrase, "Give it back to her." The guy was reluctant but had dramatically toned down his aggressiveness when he was talking to me compared to how he acted toward the woman. I quickly took off the book bag I had been carrying on my back and threw it to the ground. The woman had approached us, and I said commandingly, "Is this yours?" She responded, "Yes, that's mine." I then again told the guy, "Give it back to her." Without hesitation, he outstretched his arm and quickly gave it back to her. Before I could turn my head, she was off running away. The guy started to walk, then he stopped and came back to where I was still standing and said, "You don't mess around with a black man's business. You don't know when one may have a gun." He took off his hood, gave me a menacing look, turned around and walked away. As he was walking away, I gave my last words, yelling, "Don't do it. God's watching." And that concludes one of my first experiences, and I will conclude with my second experience. On a Sunday morning, a quite interesting event happened. As I was on the E train, I awoke from sleep and decided to eat. While the train was sitting at Chambers Street in Manhattan, two black males walked into the car. One of them stood by the car door as the other sat next to a Hispanic male that was sound asleep. Automatically, you can tell that they were going to pickpocket him. As one kept watch, the other slyly moved over and stretched out his hand towards the unsuspecting man. All the while I'm watching this on and off, acting as though I'm not aware. After a couple of minutes of trying, the guy that was attempting to pickpocket walked over to my vicinity. He asked me, "Are you all right?" I replied, "Yes, I'm okay. Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah, I'm all right. I just saw you looking at me, so I was wondering if everything was okay with you." I said, "Yeah, I was looking at everyone to make sure they were okay." As he was walking away, I said, "I hope you all aren't going to do what I think you're going to do." He walked towards me and said, "What would make you say something like that? You don't know me." "What am I going to do, huh?" I claimed. "I only hope that you all weren't going to do what I think you all are going to do, because remember, God is always watching." He then walked back to where he was seated and proceeded to make his attempts at the man's pocket. After a few failed tries, his partner stopped looking out and sat across from him, and they started to talk. The petty thief pulled out a cell phone and a couple of dollars from his own pockets. Anyway, as they were talking, I stopped over to them and began to engage them. I said, "I'm sorry to bother you guys, but I just wanted to say that God put you both in this car for a reason. Now, Now, I may not be accurate with the dialogue, but I'll do my best." He interjected, "Hey man, I don't want to hear that right now." I insisted, "I know you don't want to hear it, but this is valuable stuff." As they tried to ignore me, I began to speak where he and I were talking at the same time. Irritation in his voice, he claimed, "Yo man, I tried to tell you nicely that I don't want to hear that. Right now, you're disrespecting my space." I said sharply, "You're sure you don't want to hear what I have to say?" He replied, "I'm sure about that." "Okay," I said, as I walked back to my seat. As I continued eating, he was steadfast at his craft. "Oh, I almost forgot. After the last small discussion, I awoke the gentleman and asked if he was okay. I told him we were at the last stop, which is Chambers Street in Manhattan. All he did was nod his head, indicating he was all right. I told him to be careful. Someone might try to take your stuff, and went back to sleep. And he went back to sleep. Every once in a while, I would look over at the guys and the sleeping passenger. I kept praying to God that they would be disrupted in their action. The thought of forgiveness was on my mind. Forgiveness emanated from me to them. I asked God to forgive and be lenient on them. I said, God, discourage their endeavors and be patient with them. After a few minutes, they retired and walked off the train. As they were passing by, they looked at me. I glanced up at them and looked down at my sandwich and thanked God. Then I wondered maybe I should have offered them a sandwich. And that's the end of another one of my experiences. And again, as I mentioned in the future episodes, there will be more of these dreams, dream visions and experiences, and from myself and Duke. And we hope that you stay tuned, keep watching. Again, even though the book Extended Guide to God, we do sell this book, but that is not the important thing. As long as someone is listening, someone who made this one of these, whether it's the dreams, whether it's the stories, personal experiences, and just the knowledge that we have that can give a little bit of a definition to what's going on in your life, and what's going on around you, and hopefully it will be a compass, for those who lack direction. And this is the end of episode 6. Thank you. God bless.